Chapter 9 Reflections of Emptiness. The Buddha said, "Those who have passions are never able to perceive the way, for it is like stirring up clear water with hands. People may come there wishing to find a reflection of their faces, which, however, they will never see. A mind troubled and vexed with passion is impure, and on that account it never sees the way. O monks, do away with passions. When the dirt of passion is removed, the way will manifest itself." The Buddha said, "Seeing the way is like going into a dark room with a torch. The darkness instantly departs while the light alone remains. When the way is attained and the truth is seen, ignorance vanishes and enlightenment abides forever." Who is a Buddha, or what is Buddhahood? Unless you have a clear concept about it, it will be difficult to understand the sayings of Buddha. To understand those sayings, you will have to understand the source from where they arise. To understand the flower, you will have to understand the roots. Unless you understand the roots, you can appreciate the flower, but you will not be able to understand it. Who is a Buddha, or what is Buddhahood? The word Buddha means pure awareness, a state of absolute awareness. A Buddha is not a person, but a state, the ultimate flowering. The word Buddha has nothing to do with Gautama the Buddha. Before Gautama the Buddha, there have been many Buddhas, and after Gautama the Buddha, there have been many Buddhas. Gautama the Buddha is only one among many who have attained to that ultimate consciousness. The word Buddha is just like the word Christ. Jesus is only one of the Christs, only one of those who have attained to the ultimate flowering. There have been many Christs, and there will be many more. Remember it. Buddhahood is not in any way confined to Gautama the Buddha. He is just one example of what Buddhahood is. You see one rose flower? It is not the rose flower. It is only one of those rose flowers. Millions have existed before. Millions exist right now. Millions will exist in the future. It is simply a representative. This rose flower is simply a representative of all the rose flowers that have been, are, and will be. A Buddha is not defined by his personality. He is defined by the ultimate state of his being, which is beyond personality. And when a Buddha speaks, he does not speak like a person. He speaks through his ultimate awareness. In fact, to say that he speaks is not accurate, not right. There is nobody to speak. There is no self in him to speak, and in fact he has nothing to say. He simply responds, just as if you go and start singing in a valley, the valley responds. The valley simply echoes you. When you come to a Buddha, he simply mirrors you. Whatsoever he speaks is just a reflection. It is an answer to you, but he himself has nothing to say. If another Buddha comes to him, both will remain absolutely silent. Two mirrors facing each other. Nothing will be reflected. The mirrors will reflect each other, but nothing will be reflected. Two mirrors, just think of two mirrors facing each other. If Christ comes to see Buddha, or if Buddha somewhere on the roads of life comes across Lao Tzu, they will be absolutely silent. There will be no echo. So when Buddha is speaking, remember it. He is not saying anything in particular. He is simply reflecting the people. That's why a Buddha can never be very consistent. A philosopher can be very consistent. He has something to say. He remembers it. He clings to it. He never says anything that goes against it. He manages it. A Buddha is bound to be contradictory because each time somebody faces him, something else will arise. It will depend on the person who faces him. It is just like a mirror. If you come before the mirror, it is your face that is reflected. Somebody else comes, then it is his face. The face will go on changing. You cannot say to the mirror, "You are very inconsistent. Sometimes you show a woman's face, and sometimes a man's face, and sometimes a beautiful face, and sometimes an ugly face." The mirror will simply keep quiet. What can he do? He simply reflects. He reflects whatsoever is the case. Buddha's sayings are very contradictory. Jesus is contradictory. Buddha is contradictory. Krishna is contradictory. Lao Tzu is tremendously contradictory. Hegel is not contradictory. Kant is not contradictory. Bertrand Russell is not contradictory. Confucius is not contradictory. Manu is not contradictory. They each have a certain dogma. They don't reflect you. They have something to say and they go on saying it. They are not like mirrors. They are like a photograph. The photograph doesn't bother about who you are. It remains the same. It is dead. It has a clear-cut definition and form. Buddhahood is a formless awareness. Remember it. Otherwise, many times you will come across contradictions and you will not be able to figure out what is happening. When Buddha died immediately, there was so much controversy and the followers divided into many sects because somebody had heard Buddha say one thing and somebody else had heard something absolutely contradicting it. There was no possibility. How could one man say all those things? Somebody must be lying. People started sorting themselves out. They sorted out into many different schools. Buddha was cut in pieces. Somebody carried his hand, somebody his head, somebody his legs, but he was no longer an alive phenomenon. Now, each of these philosophies are very consistent, very logical, but dead. Buddha is not a philosopher. He is not a systematizer. Buddha is not logical in any way. He is simply alive and he reflects everything that is. So when you come to a Buddha, he answers you. He has no fixed answer to give to you. He answers you. He has no public face. All his faces are private and they depend on you. If you bring a beautiful face to him, you will see your own face reflected. And if you come without any face, pure, mirror-like, nothing will be reflected. Then Buddha disappears. He has nothing to say. Those who lived with Buddha, they knew when they had their own minds, those minds were reflected in him. When their minds dropped, they really became meditators. And when they looked at Buddha, there was nobody, just emptiness, a valley, pure silence, primal innocence, but nobody there. These sayings have been collected, compiled by a certain school. They are very consistent. Many sayings have been dropped that were apparently contradictory. Many that were ambiguous have not been included. These sayings were collected by a particular school. At some point I will be discussing other sources, and many times you will come across contradictions. Remember it. And those who are gathered around me have to understand this absolutely clear, because I will be contradicting myself every day. It depends on the climate. If the weather is cloudy, I am cloudy. If the sun is shining bright and clear, I am that way. You not only come to me with questions, you also come with the answers. Maybe the answer is not known to you. Maybe the answer is hidden in your unconsciousness. lurking somewhere in the darkness of your soul. The question is consciousness, and the answer you are carrying is unconsciousness. My function is to make your answer clearly obvious to you, to bring it to light. I am bound to be contradictory. I am not a public man. I am not interested in crowds. I am interested in you, and whatever I say to you is said to you and is irrelevant for others. When I talk personally, then I am talking to a particular person. To others, it may not be relevant. Even to the same person, it may not be relevant tomorrow because he will be changing. Life is continuous change, and I am only consistent with life and nothing else. So I am bound to be contradictory. If sometimes you come across contradictions, don't be in a hurry and don't try to figure it out somehow, and don't try to fix them. Let them be as they are. I am like Buddha has to be contradictory. He has to contain all contradictions because he contains all the possibilities of humanity. He contains all possible questions and possible answers. He contains all the possible faces and all the possible faces. He contains the whole past of humanity and the present and the future. That is the meaning when Buddha says, when you have come home, when your innermost being is luminous, all will be known. All that was past, present, and future. Nothing remains unknown. In that unknowing light, everything is relevant, but everything and things are not consistent. That's the beauty of the world, that things are not consistent. Things have different qualities, different personalities. All things are beings in their own way, and Buddha is simply reflecting, a reflection, a mirror. These sayings start always with the Buddha said. Remember it. When it is said, the Buddha said, it simply means he has nothing to say. He reflected it back to you. He simply showed you who you are. He revealed you to yourself. He brought you to your own center. Those who have passions are never able to perceive the way, for it is like stirring up clear water with hands. People may come there wishing to find a reflection of their faces, which, however, they will never see. A mind troubled and vexed with the passions is impure, and on that account it never sees the way. O monks, do away with passions. When the dirt of passion is removed, the way will manifest itself. Many things of tremendous import are said in this sutra. First, Buddha says, those who have passions are never able to perceive the way. What is passion? Passion is a sort of fever, a sort of trembling of your being, a sort of inner wavering. Passions means you are not content as you are. You would like something else. You would like something more. You would like a different pattern of life, a different style. Then you think you will be happy and contented. A mind full of passion is a mind full of discontent with the present. A mind with passion desires, hopes, but never lives. It postpones. It says tomorrow, always tomorrow. It is never here and now. A mind full of passion always goes on missing the present, and the present is the only reality there is. So a mind full of passion goes on missing reality. It cannot reflect that which is. It cannot reflect the truth. It cannot reflect the Dharma, the way. It cannot reflect the real that surrounds you because you are never here. Watch your mind. Whenever there is a desire, you have gone astray. You cannot be in the future. Remember, you cannot be in the past. Remember, that is impossible. That doesn't happen in the way things are. That simply doesn't happen. You cannot be in the past. The past is no more. How can you be in the past? But more or less, you are always in the past. You are in the memory of the past. That is a way of not being, not a way of being. That is a way of not being. Or you are in the future, which is impossible because the future is not yet. How can you live in a house that does not yet exist? But you live there. Man goes on doing miracles. These are the real miracles. Man goes on living in the past, which is no more, and he starts living in the future, which is not yet. You love the woman you have not found yet, or you go on loving the woman who is dead. The mind clinges either to the past or to the future. This is a way of not being. This is how we miss existence. This is how, by and by, we become phantoms, shadows, ghosts. Watch yourself. As I see people, millions remain in a ghost's life, living in memories or living in imagination. That is the way of passion. Passion is a wavering, either to the left or to the right, but never in the middle. And the middle is the truth. The present is the truth, the door to reality. Buddha says, those who have passions are never able to perceive the way. We are always on the way. There is no other way to be, but we never perceive that which we are always a part of. How can the unreal meet the real? A mind full of passion cannot meet with the real. And this continues. Children are full of passion. One can understand they are childish. They don't know life yet. Young people are full of passion. One can forgive them too. They are still so young. That means they are still foolish. They will have to learn. But even old people dying on their deathbeds are still full of passion. Then it is too much. An old man cannot be forgiven. A child is okay. A young man can still be forgiven. But an old man, impossible to forgive. He has lived his whole life, and he has not come to understand a simple fact, that you cannot be in the future and you cannot be in the past. He has lived his whole life, and he has been frustrated each moment of it, and yet he goes on expecting. He has lived his whole life desiring and desiring and desiring, and nothing has come out of it. Death has come, and life has not yet arrived. He has been only waiting, preparing for life. Life has not happened, yet he goes on hankering for more life. I have watched people dying. It is very rarely that a person dies without passion. When a person dies without passion, the death is beautiful. It has tremendous significance. It has intrinsic value. But people die ugly deaths. Even death cannot shake them out of their dreams and passions and fevers. Even death cannot make them realize what is happening. I have heard a very beautiful anecdote. The doorbell rings at the whorehouse, and the madam answers it, but she sees no one. Then, looking down, she sees a man with no arms or legs sitting on a platform with wheels. She says to the guy, "What could you possibly want here?" The guy looks up at her, smiles, and says, "I rang the doorbell, didn't I? Now that's enough." To the very end, even dying people think of sex. There is some interconnection because sex brings birth, so death and sex are really very deeply connected. If you have not been able to sort it out while you were fully alive, it will be very difficult to sort it out while you are dying, because when death comes, it is also brings its polarity, its shadow. Life starts with sex, life ends with death, and when death comes, the sex energy has a last bout. It flares up. That very flare leads you into another life, and the wheel starts moving again. Dying with a sexual, passionate mind, you are again creating a new life, a new birth. You have started seeking a womb. Sex means the search for a womb has started. You are not even dead yet, but the search has started. Your soul is already preparing to take a jump into another womb. Buddha says if you can die without passion, you have broken the desire. You may never be born again, or even if you are born, it is going to be only once. Maybe a little karma is left. Accounts have to be closed. Things finished. But basically, you are free. When the mind is free of passion, the mind is free. Freedom means freedom from passion, and only a free mind can see what is real. Only a free mind, free from passions, can see what is here. Those who have passions are never able to perceive the way, for it is like stirring up clear water with hands. Have you watched sometimes in a full moon night, you go to the lake, everything is silent, not even a ripple on the surface of the lake, and the moon is reflected so beautifully. Shake up the water, create a few ripples in the water with your hands, and the moon is divided into fragments. The reflection disappears. You may see silver all over the lake, but you cannot see the moon. Fragments and fragments. The totality is broken and the integration gone. Human consciousness also can be in two states. One state is the state of passion, when there are many ripples and waves hankering for some shore somewhere in the future, or still clinging to some shore in the past. But the lake is disturbed. The surface is not calm, quiet, and tranquil. The surface cannot reflect the reality. It distorts. A mind full of passion is a mechanism for distortion. Whatsoever you see through a distorted lens. Go to a lake on a full moon night and watch these two things in the lake. First, see everything quiet, calm, the moon reflected, a tremendous beauty, and everything so still, as if time has stopped, and everything so present, as if only the present is. Then create ripples, or wait for a wind to come and distort the reflection. Then the whole reflection is gone or distorted. Then you go on looking and you cannot find the moon. You cannot figure out what the moon looks like. You cannot make it out of from the reflection. These are the two states of mind also. A mind without any thought, desire, passion is quiet. Quiet like a lake. Then everything as it is reflected. And to know that which is to know truth. It is all around you. It is just that you are not in a state to reflect it. When your passions drop, by and by, things start falling in line. They become integrated. And when the reflection is perfectly clear, you are liberated. Truth liberates. Nothing else liberates. To know that which is to be free, is to be absolute freedom. Dogmas cannot liberate you. Creeds cannot liberate you. Churches cannot liberate you. Only truth liberates. And there is no way to find the truth unless you have come to create a situation in yourself where that which is mirrored. Those who have passions are never able to perceive the way. Consciousness has to become without content. That is the meaning of being passionless. When you are simply, you are. I call it primal innocence. You are not hankering, designed for anything. You are just in this moment, absolutely here and now. A great contentment arises in your being. A tremendous satisfaction arises in your being. You feel blessed. In fact, that is what you are seeking. In all your desires, you are seeking a state of contentment, but desires cannot bring it. Desires create more ripples on your lake. Desires create more restlessness in you. You are desiring only one thing: how to come to a state where everything is just contentment, nowhere to go. One is simply delighted just by being. One is blissful just by being. One can dance and sing. That is what you are seeking. Even in your desires, in your greed, in your sexuality, in your ambition, that's exactly what you are seeking. But you are seeking in a wrong direction. It cannot happen that way. It has never happened that way. It can happen in only one way: the way of the Buddha, the way of Krishna or Christ. The way is the same. It belongs to nobody. That way is right now, here, available to you. You just have to come here to meet it. You are escaping somewhere else. You are never found at home. Whatever address you give, you are never found there. You are always somewhere else. Life comes and seeks you. Of course, it trusts you and it comes to your so-called address but you are never there. Life knocks at the door and the room is empty. The house is empty. It goes into the house, looks everywhere, but you are not there. You are somewhere else. You are always somewhere else. Somewhere else is your house. Ordinarily, people think that they have to seek the ultimate, to seek the divine. The truth is just the opposite. It is seeking you, but you are never found. What Buddha is saying is, if you are passionless, you will be found. You will be immediately found because you will be sitting in the present moment. Your mind will not be wavering. Your flame will be absolutely unwavering. In that very moment of meditation, you meet existence, you meet truth, you become free. Those who have passions are never able to perceive the way. But one thing has to be remembered. You can drop worldly passions. Many people do. They become sadhus, monks. They move to the monasteries, but they don't drop the passion as such. Now they start thinking of God. Now they start thinking how to achieve in the other world. Their achiever's mind continues, only their language has changed. Now they no longer desire money. They no longer desire a bank balance, but still they desire security. Security in the hands of God. When you are seeking a bank balance, or when you are going into an insurance company to be insured, these are just different languages for your deep search for security. You leave them behind. Then you become a Christian or you become a Hindu. By becoming a Christian, what are you seeking? You are again seeking security. You are thinking, this man, Jesus, is the begotten Son of God. I will be more secure with him. Or you are seeking to become a Hindu. You think these Hindus, they have been longest in the profession of religion. They must know. They must know all the secrets of the trade. They must have keys. Many civilizations have come and gone, but these Hindus have some trick. They continue. Babylon is no more. Assyria is just ruins. The old civilization of Egypt exists only in the museums. Many civilizations have existed on this earth and gone. Only a few treasures are left here and there. But these Hindus are something. They have persisted. They have not been destroyed by time. They have a certain quality of eternity. They must know some secret. Become a Hindu. But you are seeking security. If you are seeking security, your mind still carries the same passion, desire, fear. You may not be interested in this world. There are many people who come to me and they say, this is impermanent, momentary. This world is not worthwhile. We are seeking something like permanent bliss, so nothing has changed. In fact, they seem to be greedier than ordinary people. Ordinary people are satisfied with momentary things. These people seem to be very dissatisfied. They are not satisfied with momentary things. A beautiful house and garden, a beautiful car, a beautiful woman, or a husband, a wife, and children. They are not satisfied. They say these are all momentary. Sooner or later, they will be taken away. We are seeking something that cannot be taken away. These people are more greedy. Their passion knows no bounds. They think they are religious. They are not. A religious person is one who has dropped all passion. Passion as such, just by changing the language. Nothing is changed. I have heard Mullah Nasruddin was saying to his friend, I have never called you a son of a bitch. Yes, you did. The friend was very angry. He insisted, yes, you did. No, I didn't, Mullah repeated. All I said was, when you get home, throw your mother a bone. But it is the same. Just by changing your language, nothing is changed. The so-called religious person is as worldly people, sometimes even more so. I have come across many religious people, many Jaina monks. They seem to be more worldly than their followers because the world does not mean the world. The world simply means passion, desire, greed. They are hankering for moksha, hankering for the other world, heaven, paradise. Their dreams are full of future. Your dreams are also full of future, but your future is not so big. You think only a few days ahead, or at the most a few months. If you are very, very imaginative, at the most a few years. That's all. Your passion is not so strong. Their passion seems to be mad. They are not only thinking a few years ahead, they are thinking a few lives ahead, the other world. Their desires have gone berserk. They are mad. They can leave and renounce the world, but that renunciation is false because they are renouncing this world for better worlds. When you renounce one thing for something better, it is a bargain, not a renunciation. You go to the film, to the movie, of course, you have to renounce $5. You have to sacrifice $5 immediately. But nobody calls it renunciation. It is a bargain. If you want to live in heaven and paradise, you have to pay for it. Remember this, that whenever you are paying something for something, it is not renunciation. The very idea of paying makes it immediately clear that it belongs to the world of desire, because life is free and nobody needs to pay for it. Let me repeat it. Life is absolutely free. Nobody needs to pay for it. Like, the moment you start paying for it, it is not life. It must be something like a commodity in the market, maybe in the religious market, but it must be some commodity. If somebody asks you to renounce because that is the way to gain, then he is asking you to pay for it, sacrifice for it. He is talking economics, not religion. He is talking finance. He is telling you this much you have to pay. If you want to be in God's paradise, you will have to pay these things. You will have to sacrifice. And of course, it appeals to you because you know the logic. How can you get anything free? You have to pay for it. And when you want to see God, you have to pay tremendously. You have to pay with all your pleasures. You have to become frozen, dead. You have to renounce life. So you become a good boy, a nice boy. And now God feels very happy. Look, this man has renounced everything for me. Now he should be allowed into heaven. Paradise is not to be earned. You are not to pay for it. You have only to learn to enjoy it. That's all. If you know how to enjoy it, it is available right now. You have not to pay for it. But our whole mind has been trained by economists and politicians. They say you will have to pay. Sacrifice your childhood for education so that when you are young, you can have a beautiful house, a family, respect, a respectable job. You will have to pay for it. Sacrifice your childhood so that when you are a young adult, you have all the pleasures of the world. Then when you are a young adult, your wife says, build up some insurance because the children are growing and they will need support. We will be growing old, and in our old age, what are we going to do? Sacrifice your youth for old age so that in old age you can retire comfortably. So you sacrifice your youth for your old age. And then what to do when you retire? Now your whole life is gone and always preparing for something else. And the more you prepare, the more you become skillful in preparing. That's all. You can prepare more. A man who becomes skillful in preparing is never ready to leave. He becomes more ready to prepare. That's all. That's how the whole of life is missed. And then in your old age, they say, now prepare for the other world. What are you doing? Pray, meditate, go to the church. Now become religious. What are you doing? Death is coming. Prepare for the afterlife. Now this whole logic is foolish. The childhood sacrificed for youth, the youth sacrificed for old age, and the old age sacrificed for the afterlife. Everything is just a sacrifice. When does the time come to enjoy? Let me say to you, if you want to enjoy, never prepare. If you want to enjoy, enjoy. Do it right now, because there is no other way to do it. If you become a great preparer, skillful, efficient in preparations, you will always prepare, but you will never go on any journey. You will become so skillful in preparing, packing, and unpacking that you will not know how to go on the journey. You will only know how to pack and unpack again. That's what people are doing in life. Life is free. It is a gift of existence. Enjoy it. Let this go as deep as possible in your heart. Let this secret be no longer a secret. Life is a gift. Let there be dancing in the streets. There is no need to prepare. Preparation is always a shadow of passion. When you desire for the future, of course, you have to prepare for it. In the present, no preparation is needed. The present has already arrived. The trees are already green, and the roses have flowered, and the birds are calling you. Where is the point in preparing? This craziness of preparing is absolutely human. You will never find it anywhere else. Have you ever seen any animal preparing for anything? Any tree preparing for anything? Any star preparing for anything? They must be all laughing. Man is so ridiculous. An animal. They must be all laughing. What has gone wrong? They are enjoying. Just now they are enjoying. Reality must be more clearly reflected in animals, in birds, in rocks than in man. Man's mind is so full of ripples. These ripples have to be dropped. Man is in a very strange situation. Below man is nature, absolutely unconscious and blissful. Above man are the Buddhas, absolutely conscious and blissful. Man is just in between, a passage, a bridge, a rope stretched between two eternities. Man is neither as happy as the cuckoo in the garden nor as happy as the Buddha. He is just in between, stretched, tense, wants to move both ways at once, becoming more and more split. That's why I say schizophrenia is not a special disease. It is a very common phenomenon. It is not unusual. Everybody is schizophrenic. Has to be. The very situation of humanity is schizophrenic. Man is not unconscious, so he cannot be like trees, enjoying without preparation, and he is not yet Buddha-like, so he cannot enjoy without preparation. He is not in the present, he is just in the middle. But it is nothing to be worried about. You can never be as happy as the tree. Now, there is no way of going back. That world is lost. That is the meaning of Adam's expulsion from the Garden of Eden. He is no longer part of the unconscious bliss. He has become conscious by eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge. He has become man. Adam is human, and every human being is Adam-like. Every childhood is in the Garden of Eden. Every child is as happy as the animals, as happy as the primitive, as happy as the trees. Have you watched a child running in the forest, on the beach? He is not yet human. His eyes are still clear but unconscious. He will have to come out of the Garden of Eden. It is not that Adam was once expelled. Every Adam has to be expelled again and again. Every child has to be thrown out of the garden. It is part of growth. The pain is that of growth. One has to lose it to gain it again, to gain it to consciously. That is man's burden and his destiny, his anguish and his freedom. Man's problem and man's grandeur both. Buddha is nothing but Adam coming back, re-entering the Garden of Eden. But now he comes with full awareness. Now the circle is complete. He comes dancing. He comes absolutely blissful. He is as blissful as any tree, but not unconscious. He has gained consciousness. He has risen towards consciousness. Now he is not only blissful, he is aware that he is blissful. A new quality has entered. That's what is trying to enter in you, knocking your head from everywhere. That's what I mean when I say God is searching for you. I mean that consciousness wants to happen to you. Allow it to happen. Recognize that existence, nature is searching for you. Let go. Fall into accord with it. That's what Buddha calls Dharma, being in accord with nature, fully in accord, but aware. And don't wait. Don't wait for some age when the whole of humanity will become aware and passionless. That will be a futile waiting. You will be waiting in vain. I have heard a drunkard was walking home when he came upon a group of men digging a big hole in the middle of the street. "What you doing?" he asked. "We are building a subway," came the answer. "When are you gonna finish it?" he asked. "Ah, in about 8 years." The drunk thought for a while and then shouted back, "Ah, the heck with it. I'll take a taxi." Humanity will someday become collectively conscious. That possibility exists, but nobody knows when. Millions of years will pass and millions of individuals will have to become Buddhas. Before that can happen, then one day it is possible that Buddhahood may become a natural phenomenon. But before it happens, you have to strive individually. You cannot wait for it. That waiting will be suicidal. And if everybody waits, it will never happen, because for it to happen, a certain amount of individuals' souls are needed to become Buddhas. Now, a few experiments are being done with meditation. It has been found that if in a small village, a small village of 400 people, the number of meditators rises at least 1%. For example, if in a village of 500 people, 5 persons start meditating, the crime rate in the village falls immediately. People commit fewer crimes just because 1% of the village is meditating. It affects the whole consciousness, just 1%, and they are just meditating. They are not Buddhas. If 1% of humanity becomes Buddhas, the whole quality will change. Consciousness will become easier, may become almost natural and spontaneous. So if you are waiting in vain. And if you are waiting and everybody goes on waiting, it is never going to happen. Do something about it, because by doing something about it, you will be creating a situation in which it will become easier and easier for it to happen to others. Those who have passions are never able to see the way, for it is like stirring up clear water with hands. People may come there wishing to find a reflection of their faces, which, however, they will never see. That's why you don't know who you are. You have not been able to see your own face in your mind. What to say of others, of other things, what to say about the face of truth, existence. You have not been able to look at your own face in your mind. Even that much reflection is not possible. The face does not become a reality. You see only fragments because the mind is continuously shaking, wavering. The flame is never in a state of tremendous rest, so everything is flickering. Sometimes you see one of your eyes, sometimes you see your nose, sometimes you see one of your hands, sometimes you see a part of your face, but everything is muddled. And if you want to figure it out, it becomes a Picasso painting. You don't know what is what. Everything is muddled in a mess. You don't know your identity. You are who you are, so you cling to outer supports: your name, your father's name, your family's name, your certificates from the university, your degree. These are outer supports. They help you somehow to have some idea who you are, but really you don't know who you are. How can you know yourself if you only know that you are a doctor or an engineer or a plumber? What has that to do with your being? You can be a plumber, you can be a doctor, you can be an engineer. That has nothing to do with your essential being. These are all accidents. You can be white or you can be black, but that has nothing to do with your essential being. These are just accidents, nothing essential. The difference between a white man and a black man is just of a small amount of pigment. If you go to the market, the pigment will not cost more than 4 pennies. That is the only difference between a black man and a white man. Very non-essential, but has become so tremendously important. What is the difference between a rich man and a poor man? Just accidents. Between a successful man and a failure? Just accidents. These accidents don't really define you, but we don't know how to define ourselves in any other way, so we go on clinging to this fragment or that and making something out of it. The reality of your being is within you. You just need a silent mind and it will be reflected. You will know who you are, and that will become your first step to knowing what this reality is. What is this whole game? What is this magical world? By knowing yourself, you will have taken the first step of knowing existence, knowing the whole. By knowing yourself absolutely, you have taken the last step of knowing the whole. By knowing yourself, you know what godliness is. There is no other way, because you are God's, but you have not been able to see your face. A mind troubled and vexed with passions is impure, and on that account it never sees the way. O monks, do away with passions. When the dirt of passion is removed, the way will manifest itself. The way will manifest itself. There is no need to discover it. All that is needed is that you have an innocent, pure mind. And when Buddha says pure, he does not mean a mind that is moral. He does not mean a mind that is religious. His definition of purity is more scientific. He says purity is a mind that is without thought. A moral man is moral, but he has moral thoughts. An immoral man is immoral, but he has immoral thoughts. As far as the mind is concerned, both are full of thoughts. A worldly man has worldly thoughts. A religious man has religious thoughts. Whether you are singing a song from the latest movie or you are chanting a religious prayer, it makes no difference. Your mind is wavering. Your mind is not silent. So by pure, Buddha does not mean moral. No, he simply means a mind that has no content. All content brings impurity. Whatever the content is impure. He is not using the word impurity in any commendatory sense. He is using it only in a very scientific sense. Anything foreign, anything alien makes the mind impure. Mind is just pure reflection, the capacity to reflect. If the mind has some ideas in it, the ideas will not allow its reflection to be pure. Then projection starts and the reflection is destroyed. So whether you have religious ideas or non-religious ideas, whether you are a communist or a Democrat, it makes no difference. Christian, Mohammedan, Hindu, Sikh, it makes no difference. If your ideas, your mind is impure. A mind full of consciousness will be empty of all contents. It will be neither a Christian nor a Hindu nor a Jew. You will not be a moral person nor a immoral person. You will simply be. That being, that beingness is purity. That's what I call primal innocence. Then all dust is washed away and you are just a reflective force. O monks, do away with passions. When the dirt of passions is removed, the way will manifest itself, and then suddenly you will see the way has always been here now, only you were missing it. It is impossible to lose the way. You can try. That's what you have been doing. You can try, and for moments you can also believe you have succeeded, but in fact it never happens. You cannot lose the way. There is no way to lose the way. There is no way to go astray. You can believe in your dreams that you can go astray, but in reality you cannot go astray. Anytime when you become awake, you will simply laugh that you have been thinking that you have gone far away. You have never gone out of your home. You have always lived here. Just with closed eyes, you go on dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. In a dream, you can go as far away as you like, but in reality, there is no way to go anywhere except here, because wherever you are, reality is. You are part of reality, and you exist only as an organic part to reality. You cannot go away. You cannot separate yourself. You are intermingled with existence. You are interwoven with existence. You are not dependent. We are not independent. We are interdependent. We are members of each other. There is no way to go anywhere. So when the mind is pure, when the dirt of passion is removed, the way will manifest itself. Suddenly you will see the way is standing before you. Suddenly you will recognize that you have been always standing in the doorway, on the threshold. You will start laughing. The whole game has been so ridiculous. A really religious person never loses the sense of humor. And if you see a religious person who has no sense of humor, you can be certain he has not come home yet, because a religious person, the more he understands, the more he sees the ridiculous of the game, the more he starts laughing. How did it all become possible? How did I dream? How long have I been in dreams? And those dreams look so real. The Buddha said, seeing the way is like going into a dark room with a torch. The darkness instantly departs, while the light alone remains. When the way is attained and the truth is seen, ignorance vanishes and enlightenment abides forever. A beautiful maximum to be remembered. Seeing the way is like going into a dark room with a torch. If you go into a dark room with a torch, with a lamp, the darkness immediately disappears. Immediately. Buddha says instantly. It does not take time. It is not that you bring light in, then the darkness lingers a little while, decides whether or to leave or not, takes a little time and then goes. No time is needed, because darkness is not real. If it were real, it would take a little time, maybe a split second, but it would take a little time to go out. It would have to travel, and traveling takes time. Sometimes it may be a lazy darkness. It may take a little longer time. Sometimes it may be a fast runner, then it will go fast. But anyway, it will take time if it is real. When you bring light, the very bringing of the light is the disappearance of darkness. Darkness is not, only light is. When darkness is, in fact, there is nothing. It is only the absence of light. That's all. Darkness has no positive existence. It is just absence of light. So when you bring presence, the absence is no longer there. Buddha says this world is just like darkness. Once you bring light to it, once you become aware, once you drop your passions and you become meditative, once the mind attains to the purity of meditation, suddenly the light is there. Darkness disappears instantly, immediately, within no time. Seeing the way is like going into a dark room with a torch. The darkness instantly departs, while the light alone remains. When the way is attained and the truth is seen, ignorance vanishes and enlightenment abides forever. Enlightenment is that which has always been the case. Enlightenment is that which has always been there. You were not aware. You were fast asleep. It was just sitting by your side waiting for you to awaken. Enlightenment is your nature, is your very being from the very beginning. It has been there. It is there right now. If you can flare up in awareness, you can attain it immediately. It is a sudden illumination. But if you want, you can take your time. You can move slowly, gradually. You can turn over and go to sleep again and wait a little more. But whenever you open your eyes, you will find it. It has always there. Just for the asking, it could have been achieved any time. It was never difficult. It seems difficult because you are asleep. Once you are awakened, you will laugh. How was it difficult? Why was it difficult? It was something that was present, only you had to claim it. The way is. Waves come and go. The ocean is. Minds come and go. No mind is. Roles come and go. Buddha is your original face, your originality, your very being. O monks, do away with passions. Drop desiring. Our desiring accumulates everything. Our desiring becomes our interpretation of everything. The more you desire, the more miserable you will be, because the more you desire, the more you will be your expectation. The more you desire, the less grateful you will be, because the more you desire, the more you will feel that man proposes and God disposes. The less you desire, the more grateful you be, because the less you desire, the more you will see how much is given without desiring, without asking. If you don't desire at all, you will be in tremendous gratitude, because so much is given already. Life is such a gift, but we go on with our mind. I have heard a man was reckoned to be the laziest man in the country, and naturally spent most of his time sleeping. He was so inactive and so useless that at one time the townspeople thought it would be a good idea to bury him, whether he was dead or alive. They made a crude coffin, came around with it to his house, put him in it without any protest from his family, and started off with the live old critter for the cemetery. Of course, there was no resistance from him. He was so lazy. He said okay, or he may not have even said that. He may have just watched and what was going on. But before they got to the cemetery, they were stopped by a stranger who had heard of the grim proceedings. They told the stranger the man would not work, and had not a grain of corn on his place, and the town was sick of providing him with food. Enough is enough, they said, and we are all fed up. If you boys will hold off, I will gladly give the man a wagon load of corn, said the stranger. Before the townspeople could reply, a head was raised out of the coffin, and the almost deceased asked, "Is that corn shucked?" The lazy man is worrying about the corn, whether it is shucked or not. He is ready to die, but if he has to shuck the corn, then it is too much effort. A man who is surrounded by laziness looks at everything through his laziness. His laziness becomes his interpretation of things. If you are sleepy, you will look at life with sleepy eyes, naturally. And if you miss life, it is a natural, because life is possible only if your eyes are fully alive, if your eyes are radiant with life, if you look at life with alive eyes, there is a meeting, a communion. We live surrounded by clouds of desire. Then those desires become our interpretation. Then we go on thinking according to those desires. It happened. Applicants for a job on a dam had to take a written examination. The first question of which was, what does hydrodynamics mean? Mullah Nasruddin, one of the applicants for the job, looked at this, then wrote underneath it, it means I don't get the job. Whatever meaning we give to life, we give it to life. Buddha is saying if you want to know the real meaning of life, then you have to drop giving all meanings to it. Then the way reveals itself. Then life opens its mysterious doors. You stop giving meaning to it. Your desires are giving meaning to it. They are defining the undefinable. And if you remain clouded with your desires, whatsoever you know is nothing but your own dreaming. That's why we say in India that this life, this so-called life lived through desires, is Maya. It is a magical thing. You create it. You are the magician. It is your Maya, your magic. We don't live in the same world. Remember, we live in separate worlds because we don't live in the same desires. You project your desires. Your neighbor is projecting his desires. That's why when you meet a person and you want to live with him, with a woman or with a man or with a friend, difficulties arise. That is a clash of two worlds. Everybody is good alone. Together, something goes wrong. I have never come across a wrong person, but every day I have to watch and see and observe wrong relationships. I never come across a wrong person, but every day I come across wrong relationships. It seems that almost all relationships are wrong because two persons live in two worlds of desire. They have their own magical worlds. When they come together, those worlds clash. It happened. One night, Mullah Nasruddin was sitting on one side of the fire and his wife on the other. Between them lay the cat and the dog. Lazily blinking at the fire, the wife ventured this remark. Now, dear, just you look at the cat and dog. See how peacefully and quietly they get along together? Why can't we do that? That's all right, said Nasruddin, but just tie them together and see what will happen. Tie two persons together, that's what a marriage is, and see what happens. Suddenly, the two worlds, it seems almost impossible to understand the woman you love. It should not be so. You love her, but it seems impossible to understand. It is impossible to understand the man you love. It should not be so. You love him, but it seems impossible to understand. It is very easy to understand strangers. It is very difficult to understand people who are very close. To understand your mother, father, brother, sister, friend is very difficult. The closer you are, the more difficult, because the worlds are clashing. These worlds surround you like a subtle aura. Unless you drop this magical creation that you go on feeding, you will remain in conflict. You will remain in conflict with persons. You will remain in conflict with existence because the other has his world and you have your own private world. They never go together. You have to drop your private mentation. Dropping mentation is what meditation is all about. You have to drop your thinking, desiring. You have to just be. And suddenly everything falls into an organic whole, becomes a harmony. And these desires are the root of the darkness that is surrounding you. These desires are the support, the foundation of the darkness that surrounds you. These desires are the hindrances that don't allow you to become alert. Be aware of these desires, and remember, the word beware means be aware. That is the only way. If you really want to get rid of these desires, don't start fighting them. Otherwise, you will miss again. Because if you start fighting with your desires, that means you have created a new desire, to be desireless. Now, this desire will clash against other desires. This is just changing the language. You remain the same. Don't start fighting with the desires. When Buddha says, do away with passions, O monks, he does not mean to fight with the passions. Because you can fight only if there is a prize. If you are going to attain something, then again a desire has arisen in a new shape, a new form. But it is the same old desire. Don't fight, just be aware. Be aware of desires. Become more watchful, more alert, and you will see that the more alert you are, the less desires are there. Ripples start subsiding, waves start disappearing, and one day suddenly, any moment it can happen, because all moments are as potential as any other. There is no auspicious moment for it to happen. It can happen in any ordinary moment, because all ordinary moments are auspicious. There is no need for it to happen under a Bodhi tree. It can happen under any tree, or even without a tree. It can happen under the roof of your house. It can happen anywhere, because godliness is everywhere. But by and by, become aware. Create more and more awareness. Collect more and more awareness. One day, the awareness comes to such a point, the energy is so much that it simply explodes. And in that explosion, darkness disappears and light is. Immediately, darkness disappears. Instantly, darkness disappears and light is. And that light is your own luminosity, so you cannot lose it. Once known, it becomes your eternal treasure. Enough for today.